The Penguin. The rich, rotund supervillain with a mind that's sharper than a poison-tipped beak. One of Gotham City's top criminal masterminds is such a perfect criminal that he actually appears legitimate to the man on the street. Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, has moved his underworld operations to the site of a seemingly lawful business. Today, the Penguin is the owner and operator of the Iceberg Lounge, the most famous nightclub in Gotham. The general public is well aware that the Penguin has a criminal past, but most believe that it is in the past, and that he is now a reformed man. However, the Penguin's reputation is still a major attraction. There are always long queues of eager punters, and the lounge attracts more than its fair share of celebrities too. Movie stars, pro athletes, and infamous mobsters are regular customers, and celebrity spotting is a favourite pastime for the lowlier clientele. Of course, it's all a ruse. The lounge is the base for the Penguin's underworld operations. The club makes a hefty profit, but is essentially just a front for the Penguin's real businesses: theft, fencing of stolen goods, racketeering, and even murder. It's no surprise that the Penguin should be able to carry off such a blatant charade with panache. Sleight of hand has always been the Penguin's stock in trade. He is undoubtedly one of Gotham's smartest criminals, a devious and intelligent man. Rarely dirtying his own hands, the Penguin operates through a series of go-betweens and underlings so that his crimes can rarely be traced back to him. He's always shown an uncanny brilliance when it comes to criminality. One possible inspiration for this mental acuity could be his troubled, tortured childhood. As well as hardening Cobblepot's heart, learning how to turn himself from victim into victor sharpened his mind, helping to make him the criminal mastermind the world has come to know as the Penguin. Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot had a childhood that was far from happy. His widowed mother coddled him, overprotecting him to the point of distraction. One of the protective measures she took was to make sure that young Oswald always had an umbrella with him in case it rained, no matter how sunny the day. The reason? Oswald's father had died of pneumonia after he was caught in a downpour without any protection from the elements. Oswald's school days were no easier. He was short, fat, waddled when he walked, and had a pointed beak-like nose. The combination of these features led bullies to nickname him Penguin. This taunt would be hurled at young Oswald regularly. Oswald did have one place where he found solace: Cobblepot's Aviary, an exotic bird store that was the family's business. Lacking fellow children as friends, Oswald bonded with the birds. They became his confidants. Soon he had a supernaturally close relationship with them. They never pecked him, and even seemed to follow his orders. Oswald also escaped into literature. He read voraciously, becoming very learned, and developed a particular fondness for Shakespeare. Of all the schoolyard persecutors who taunted and abused Oswald, none was worse than a bully named Sharky. One day, as he was watching a new nest of birds hatch from their shells, Oswald's life changed. He noticed that the other birds were pecking at the smallest bird, the runt. Oswald saw a parallel with his own life. He knew that he was the runt, and he was going to be pecked at and picked on by the Sharkies of this world for the rest of his life. Unless he changed. Young Oswald dedicated himself to improving his physical fitness and studying martial arts, attacking both with the same devotion he had for his books. Oswald trained his short, squat body to its peak. He became remarkably strong and surprisingly agile for his frame. His next confrontation with Sharky ended differently, with Oswald beating the bully. But Sharky had the last laugh. Sneaking back to the Cobblepot's aviary store, Sharky killed all the birds he found there. Young Oswald was now terribly embittered toward a world that seemed to hate him. He decided that from now on he would use any means to come out on top. If this meant that he had to turn to crime to achieve that goal, so be it. Oswald Cobblepot had set out on the path to becoming the Penguin, kingpin of crime. The Penguin started his criminal career in a refined manner. He didn't go for street thuggery or mere bank jobs, opting instead to steal art treasures and fine jewels. His first target was an art museum, where he stole a pair of $1,000,000 paintings, secreting the canvases away in the shaft of his ever-present umbrella. He then took these to a Gotham City mobster, with whom he split the proceeds. Penguin started plotting crimes for the mobster and his gang, teaming his intellect with the mobster's brawn. The heists peaked with the theft of the Great Columbia Diamond. Soon after, the mobster tried to kill the Penguin, fearing that Oswald knew too much, and was gaining too much power and influence in the gang. But the Penguin turned the tables, revealing a gun hidden in his umbrella, with which he shot and killed the mob boss. The Penguin now had a gang all of his own. The Penguin's escalating crime wave led to an inevitable conflict with Batman. Right from the start, Cobblepot lamented that the two outsiders were destined to be enemies. Too bad. A marvellous physique coupled with a keen brain. We could go far together, he said. In their first meeting, the Penguin gassed Batman with a burst from his umbrella and left him unconscious at the crime scene, successfully framing the caped crusader. Batman was rescued by his young partner, Robin, and the duo defeated the Penguin's gang and cleared Batman's name. However, the Penguin managed to slip away after a climactic confrontation at a train station. The Penguin resurfaced just a few weeks later. He set himself up as a king of a hobo jungle, an encampment of homeless people and vagabonds who stole rides on trains. As many of the hobos were wanted criminals, the Penguin masterminded a scheme where he'd turn in the criminals for reward money and later bust them out of jail using his trick umbrellas. The Penguin and the hobos would then split the cash. Batman and Robin sussed out this plan and calculated the Penguin's next move. The dynamic duo foiled the scheme, but once again, the Penguin took flight at the last moment, diving into the Mississippi River from the deck of a paddle boat. The Penguin eventually made his way back to Gotham City, where he set up permanent operations. Styling himself as a gentleman villain, he dressed in a top hat and tails, and carried himself with his own unique brand of high society poise. The Penguin often chooses avian animals as a motif in his crimes. He once used a mechanical petrosaur to attack the crowd at the unveiling of a Napoleon statue at Gotham Société Française. However, the attack was just a diversion, as $100,000 in jewels was stolen simultaneously at a different location. A similar crime spree, which, incidentally, hanged upon clues based on biographical details of the lives of short but great historical figures, Machiavelli and Lord Nelson, featured a vast mechanical bird-like dinosaur. Batman deduced the pattern in the crimes, which were panned down to the exact times and street addresses. But all the while, Batman was being played. The Penguin had planted the complementary clues on purpose, knowing only Batman had the ability to solve them. The Penguin set up Batman for a final confrontation at the Royce Chemicals plant, where he trapped Batman at the bottom on an empty chemical tank. By sending giant mechanical vultures with laser eye-beams after Batman, the Penguin aimed to end their rivalry once and for all. However, Batman defeated the birds and rigged their motorized wings to fly him out of the chemical tank. Once free, Batman jailed the Penguin, but the Penguin soon escaped, just in time for the legendary Malay penguin, a jeweled penguin statuette, to go on display at Gotham's Reed Galleries. The Batman knew the Penguin would go after the treasure. The Penguin is a man who loves to play games. Challenging games, he said. He loves to match wits for high stakes. Batman knew his adversary well, and when he discovered the Penguin casing the galleries, he tried to apprehend the villain again. The Penguin narrowly escaped, leaving Batman with the cryptic remark, never pitch rolls at a bank. The Malay Penguin caper took a bizarre turn when Oswald dropped thousands of leaflets over the city, proudly boasting to Batman that, "Tonight I shall lift the silver bird." All seemed to indicate a heist at Reed Galleries, but Batman knew better. He swiftly proceeded to Gotham International Airport, where the Penguin was about to hijack a plane filled with members of the Securities Exchange. On their way to Paris for a conference, Batman deduced that pitch, roll, and bank were all aviation terms, and the silver bird was the plane. The Penguin had already stolen the Malay Penguin weeks ago. The one in the galleries was a fake. The Penguin narrowly missed his ransom hijack and headed back to jail. After escaping jail, the Penguin once again showed his manipulative genius by befriending a kindred soul, a misshapen, mute hunchback named Harold. Harold was a technical savant who developed machinery that could control birds. Using Harold's machines, the Penguin whipped flocks of birds into a Hitchcockian frenzy, sending them off to murder and create mayhem throughout Gotham City. The birds clogged traffic, pecked wires out of security systems, shut down the airport, and even killed citizens caught in their maelstrom. But the birds' rampages were just a preview. The Penguin's real plan was to sell the technology to the highest bidder and eliminate Harold from the picture. Around this time, the Penguin became obsessed with an actress named Sherry West, who played Heron in the soap opera Heartstrings. He kidnapped West, intent on winning her love with his riches. As powerful mob bosses from all over the world flew into Gotham City to bid for the Penguin's new technology, Batman discovered that the machinery signal could be jammed with ultrasonics. Meanwhile, Harold also fell in love with the kidnapped Sherry West, and she found sympathy for him. Harold attacked the Penguin, just as Batman disrupted the Penguin's demonstration of ultrasonics to the mobsters. The Penguin was then captured, and Harold and Sherry sent free, as yet another scheme unravelled before the Penguin's eyes. But the Penguin is a past master at capitalising on a situation that has gone awry. When Gotham was devastated by a catastrophic earthquake, the damage was so severe that the United States government's response was to kick Gotham out of the US. The city became a lawless no-man's land, and the Penguin found new ways to take advantage of that situation. Cobblepot quickly set himself up as the go-to source for supplies of any kind. Guns, gasoline, warm clothing. All these mundane commodities became scarce resources in a Gotham cut adrift from the rest of the United States. The Penguin was known to trade a single apple for a 20-carat diamond, and then use mysterious underground sources to get the diamond to the outside, where it could be properly fenced. Using his power and influence, the Penguin carved out a large swath of ruined Gotham as his own turf, setting himself up, inevitably, in the swankier fashion and diamond districts. He was now the ultimate black marketeer in a lawless land. The rule of law slowly returned to Gotham, and after more than a year, the city rejoined the US. Cobblepot still came out on top. It was the billionaire industrialist Lex Luthor who led the rebuilding of Gotham. He had his underworld connections as well. Luthor had been the Penguin's pipeline to the outside all along. Threatened with blackmail, Luthor let the Penguin keep his share of their ill-gotten riches and remain a major player in the new Gotham City. The Penguin then chose a new role in New Gotham. He wanted to at least look legitimate, so he opened the Iceberg Lounge, a trendy nightclub that sold overpriced souvenirs and merchandise. He had a new role to play now, that of a reformed criminal, gone straight and ready to enjoy the finer things in life. Of course, it was just a role. The Penguin had maintained his underworld connections and criminal enterprises. In the rebuilt Gotham, his prime product was information. The Penguin's web of well-connected spies made him the nexus for illicit information. So much so that even Batman came to rely upon the Penguin with the occasional tip-off. The two certainly weren't friends or allies, but the Batman, ever pragmatic, would turn to the Penguin when necessity dictated. The Penguin also gained a new adversary, Gotham police detective Harvey Bullock. Bullock, a no-nonsense cop, once thought the Penguin responsible for a series of child murders. Even though the Penguin wasn't responsible, Bullock was so consumed by grief that, under the influence of alcohol, he savagely beat the Penguin, stopping just short of throwing him off the roof of a building. The two remain, understandably, wary of each other to this day. Returning to the Iceberg Lounge, the Penguin turned his attention to the fate of many costumed villains, who were disappearing, never to be seen again. The villains were being captured by the government's Suicide Squad and exiled to a distant planet for unknown purposes. The Penguin, utilizing his massive network of connections, profited from the Suicide Squad's actions. He set up an underground railroad to get villains out of harm's way, for a hefty price, of course. Most recently, the Penguin fell foul of another Gotham gangster named Tobias Whale. The Whale and the Penguin were opponents in a Gotham City underworld power struggle. Matters were complicated tremendously when a newcomer to Gotham, Johnny Stitches, showed up. Johnny made his own power play, and the Penguin was forced to recruit a massive new gang of the lowest of Gotham's lowlife: drug dealers, runaways, and prostitutes. It helped that the crew was fitted out with a pilfered supervillain equipment provided by the Penguin. Full-blown gang warfare raged in the streets of Gotham until the Penguin's enemies joined forces against him. The Whale teamed up with Johnny Stitches. Both were aligned with Intergang, a massive international crime cartel. Johnny Stitches brokered a meeting with the Penguin to show him how bad the Penguin's situation had become. Intergang was taking over. The Penguin's ragtag mob broke ranks and ran. As a final gesture of mercy, Johnny Stitches gave the Penguin 24 hours to get out of Gotham forever. The Penguin, ever the dignified gentleman, was not about to turn tail and run. He set himself up for one last stand and repelled Intergang's first attack. But he was still hopelessly outnumbered and on the verge of defeat. Suddenly, the Penguin received unexpected aid from an unlikely ally, Batman. He brought in the Justice League to take care of Intergang. But the battle ended on Batman's own terms. The Penguin would now work for Batman, as the Dark Knight needed free access to the Penguin's underworld information, particularly concerning Intergang. The Penguin was saved, but at the price of gaining an unwanted ally. The Penguin still sits on top of the Iceberg Lounge, where the drinks flow and the beautiful people dance the night away. Batman thinks he has the Penguin on a string, but the record shows that the Penguin has escaped many a trap. It's only a matter of time before the Penguin shows his true colours once more.